Welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks Podcast, episode 119. We had originally Kyle Smith, the bicycle lawyer, scheduled for today, but he was unable to attend. We got some baby stuff going on at the house. It's not so great. So Dave and I are here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about
We're gonna,
how
we're
our
gonna make
last
shit
guest.
up.
Yeah, we're gonna wing it here. But both of us have been really impacted by our guest last week, Matt Fitzgerald, and his book, How Bad Do You Want It? And both Dave and I started the second book of his, The Comeback Quotient, and that's equally what you call riveting, inspiring. Lots of stories in there as well, and we're both just really learning quite a bit from the books. So, Dave, how has it impacted you?
So, two really things stick out, it's not unrelated, right? The how bad do you want it, and the comeback quotient. But this is where I confess, and I is and I think I said it wrong when I was explaining it to Matt. Was post COVID, right? I think, as I said on last week's podcast, pre-COVID, my fitness was at a certain level. Post-COVID, for a lot of reasons, not due illness, it's just time constraints and whatnot. I don't think my fitness is at the same level. And what I'm finding is that as I'm trying to get back to it, I'm finding I'm reaching points where I'm just giving up. Like I'm on a particular ride, and I'm about to get dropped, and instead of digging deep and finding a way to dig deep, I just give up. And then to some level, I'm sitting here going, you know what? I'm pretty happy with how I'm riding anyways. I'm 63 years old, but it's mentally, I think that's what I'm giving up. And that's why the first book, but especially even now the second book, is exactly that. I'm not necessarily saying that mine is a comeback per se, but for me personally, it's a bit of a comeback, and watching that, and figuring out how am I going to dig deep. And this is why this book is so, and this is only one example. I mean, I go on and on and on because the book is so inspiring, right?
Yeah.
I'm rambling here, but I've read like one book in like what, 7 years, and now I'm on my second book by the
Yeah.
same author.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the
That's
same.
one.
I don't do a lot of reading either. And
Yeah,
I didn't read these. I just audible them. And
yeah, I know, but I have plenty of time to do Audible, right, when I'm riding my bike, and I don't. I choose podcasts or something else.
yeah, the
The
one
other
thing,
thing,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but the other thing that struck me, and I still, I don't know why. One of the funniest lines I think on the last podcast was he's explaining the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
And he said that the vast majority of elite athletes do 80% of their work at moderate intensity and 20% at high intensity. And he said the absolute, in the amateur world, the reverse is true. And that's why I sort of picked on you with it. But it was funny. He looks at when he said, it's the same sport,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
even as much as yesterday, as I know this, and he's like, and I spent 2 days in a car driving back from Colorado with my daughter. One night I didn't sleep at all. I felt like shit, and I went out and I went for a ride, and I said, I'm just going to go easy, 80-20, 80-20, 80-20. And I start out slow, and I look down, and I'm like going 13 miles an hour. I'm like, what am I doing? And I start like immediately get into this intensity thing, right? It's so hard to restrain yourself. And I
Yeah.
know it's supposed to be the case. So
Yeah.
those are the two most important. Go
I
ahead.
used to joke
So
all the time that easy days are the hardest days, because you're just so programmed to do the other thing, to go
yeah,
hard all the time. And so, Yeah, the easy days are the hard days. That could be a
Yeah.
good book.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Um,
did. You do the same thing. You start off with this idea. Okay, look, I don't even need to be on the bike today. I'm just going to go do an easy spin, and then next thing you know, well, okay, well, I'll just hit this one hard, and then and then I'll take it easy, and then maybe then you see a couple of cyclists up ahead, and then you can lag onto them, and then next thing you know, you're in a pace line and you're hammering, and it's just like this is supposed to be easy day, dummy.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I know.
yeah,
I
but
had a, I can say this, because, uh, I don't think he listens to our podcast, but there was, when we were doing our training program, we had Mondays were the recovery day. And
mhm,
it's actually, on some level, it's easier, that whole testosterone thing when you get guys together and they start to go and the pace picks up. But if you have guys, 5 guys that are on a training program, you can, doing the same in a group, you can say, hey, slow down, slow down, slow down. We're only supposed to be in zone 2, right? But
right.
we had one guy that was on the training program, and we used to call him off the front mic because he was never looking at his data. And on our recovery days, all of a sudden you look up and he's just way down the road because he never really followed the program.
Right.
So,
That's the
yeah,
yeah, to Matt's point, right? Guy can't chill out,
yeah,
just chill out.
yeah.
But
I
yeah,
can't. To our listeners, I can't. Well, I rambled. What has it done for you? What? Tell me.
it's just like I said to Matt in the podcast, it's like it's really adjusted my mindset and just like I said, I mean, you and I are old and our bodies are uh they don't bounce back like they did when we were younger, and they're more sensitive to the things that we put in them, and it's just like a lot of physical stuff that it kind of is what it is. We're doing everything we can to mitigate it, but it's happening, and we're trying to counteract it as much as we can. And I think both of us are are doing much better than many people our own age. But that's not the
Right.
standard that we're holding ourselves to. We're holding ourselves to the standard of a cyclist, uh, and in many cases much younger cyclists. Actually, most of the time it's much younger cyclists that we're riding with, so it becomes uh you either the goal's got to be attainable, and like if you feel like on these group rides that you're doing where you just feel like let them go, and it's like you
Yeah.
mentally decide to give up, uh if they were just blasting off the line from the very beginning and you had no shot like a mile in, you're already off the back and there's no way you could keep that pace, that would be an unsurmountable kind of goal. But it doesn't really work like that, right? So you're going for a period of time and then the pace starts to pick up a little bit and a little bit, and then pretty soon you're just playing this mental game, and then at some point you decide to let it go, but that goal's still attainable. It's like right there at your fingertips,
Yeah.
but it's just drifting away slowly. I think those are the types of that's the mental side of it, right? Where um I do these hill repeats because I got this stupid climbing goal that I set for myself this year, and it's got me doing these really rides that no one else would want to do, really. So but I know like like I do these laps, and my first lap is always kind of a like a just kind of a bullshit uh lap where I don't go that hard. I'm just trying to get my bearings, get myself going, and then I find that as I get going, kind of like an hour, 2 hours in, now all of a sudden, now I'm putting in some inspired laps. And after some time with the book, I just decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to try to start with inspired laps and see if I can maintain it. And you know what? I am. And then the other thing I'm doing is at the end of the ride, your laps progressively. I mean, we're talking long rides, like, I mean, hours and hours and hours, right? Towards the end, you're kind of on fumes and your laps are slower than your laps in the middle. And I've been telling myself, I want to try to put my best lap time up towards the end, not the last lap, but maybe the lap before. And give you an idea, like this climb I do, the laps range anywhere from 9 minutes and 30 seconds to like 13 minutes sometimes, and Saturday I did a big effort, and at the end I did a 9:36. So that was really, and it was all mental, because
Yeah.
physically I felt like shit. I was at the end of a massive day, and my body was smoked. But I have these things in these little inspirational thoughts, or this mindset approach that I've taken from that book. And it's just getting me to challenge myself. I mean, it's funny to say not physically, because but it's the way you're looking at it,
Right.
like it's more like, don't allow my brain to let my body slack off. It's just a shift in the way you think about it,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and I know,
Where,
like, in the past, I'd get to the end, I'd just be like, well, how much more could I possibly do, man? I am completely smoked, a pile of garbage right now, but that's all up here. It's all in your brain.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see
Whoa.
how far I could take that mindset, because I really want to try to push. Uh, I just got some ideas about pushing towards the end and maybe doing my fastest laps at the end of the ride to see if I could do that,
Uh-huh.
you know, but all
Well,
inspired by the book.
what is, I'm sitting here, if I know we're on YouTube and I'm going to be look like I have ants in my pants,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to find my notes because you know what, I was laughing. We were both cracking up last week. I don't know if our listeners saw that, but we kind of pride ourselves on kind of winging it and
Yeah.
not preparing.
Oh yeah.
And I recapped that note. I took 2 pages of fucking notes, right? And
Yeah.
then I told him, and I told Matt up front, no, we just wing it. And then I started laughing hysterically when you held up your paper and you had notes.
I was
So,
nervous.
but
I mean, the guy's he's a very, he's one of the
he's an
smartest
A-lister.
people.
Come on.
Yeah, he's one of the
Yeah.
smartest people I've ever talked to, I think. And I was afraid. And then I asked the question. He's like, "Well, that question is kind of a red herring." I'm like, "Oh shit."
But, all right. So he's never coming back. But I can't find my notes.
Who cares? Who
But
cares?
there,
But I
but
cracked up. You
I
wanted a glossary of terms. I was just like, "Oh, brother."
well, I know, but the thing is, I knew that those things were good. Those terms were going to come up throughout it,
Hmm.
and I don't think everyone that listens is going to understand it. So let's just get that out of the way right away. But be that
Right.
as it may, there was
Yeah.
one in that book, and this relates to what we were talking about before we came on. One of the women's, one of the in his book, one of the stories was about a woman who adjusted her mindset going into the races, and I think
It
it's
was.
very much relates to
It was.
where I say I put pressure on myself.
Yep.
She and I think that that's the technique that's working for me. God damn it, I can't find it, but I've taken this approach. When I take this approach, that I'm going in to do the best that I can, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that is, and so I don't set out to get a PR, or I don't set out to win a gravel race, right?
Yep.
And I've just set out to do my best. In one of those gravel races, I got second, right? And I'd gone just because I'm just going to go do my best, and I podium. I hit
Right.
the podium, and I was telling you the other day, I went out last Tuesday, and I said, okay, I'm just going out and by myself. I'm just gonna go out and do some gravel, and with no intention of doing anything else. And I came back with like 37 cups and a bunch of PRs, a bunch of second fastest times. And because there wasn't that burden of just smashing something or doing. And I think that's the thing that works for me right now. It's just go out and do. And if I could adopt that mentality on that ride that I keep getting dropped on, it'd probably be, you know,
Yeah.
because what's happening in these two segments is, well, initially there's one segment on this ride. Look, I'll just say it's a House of Pain ride, right? And there's a Collier speed bump on this thing, and my PR on the thing is 147, but I'm having trouble getting over it now at like 205 is my max right now. And if the group is going over it a little bit slower, I can hold on, but otherwise, but the problem is I'm going into it. I'm from the minute we hit Highland, I'm going, oh boy, here it goes. Oh boy, here it goes. Oh boy, here it goes. And I should probably just go, fuck it, do whatever just do it, right?
Sure.
But I'm getting myself all worked up for the 2 miles leading up to it. So
Yeah, you're a fucking mess.
I'm so it's I believe me, I've started
The
to
fact
I've
that
started to look at my medical benefits and find out if they cover counseling. I need
uh
it.
yeah. Well, the athlete you're talking about is Siri Lindley. And I that was one of the stories that I really resonated with. She was a elite level triathlete, but she just couldn't get over this hump. And she was putting so much pressure on herself all the time, and she was just in her head, and she had to win. It was either win or nothing. That was the whole thing. And um, she got recommended to change coaches and go to, I forget exactly where she went. Maybe it was Australia. She went no, it was New Zealand. I think she went for this coach.
Okay.
And the coach told her after meeting with her, he says, you know what? Let's do this. You're going to retire today. You're retired. You're just done. Let's just get that out of the way. Okay. You're a retired athlete. Now let's see how fast you can do these things that you love to do. Let's just focus on
See,
that. Right. And then he had her do this protocol where she had to, it's like the biggest effort. I think, I don't even know swimming terms, but it was like 4,000 whatever was her biggest ever training block of swimming. She did 6,000, and she had to ride her bike. She had to ride her bike to the place. She had to do this load that she'd never done a load that big before. And then after she gets out of the pool, she's expecting to get a ride back to no, you had to get on the bike and ride back. And it was
all
all
right. So
uphill all the way back. And then she called her mom crying, saying that she doesn't think she can do it and all this stuff. Then he sends her to a triathlon when she's completely physically wasted. And she took second, beating people that she hadn't beaten before. And before the triathlon, she called her mom and said, I don't even know why I'm here. This is ridiculous. I have no chance. And she went out and ran one of her better races. And then from there, then she started rattling off world champs, and she just was on
there,
her way.
here.
Yeah.
I just retired. I resigned.
Yeah,
I'm
just
going to take that
retire.
approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was this point in her story where she was in the midst of a triathlon and things were going pretty good, but it was getting really hot, and she stopped at a aid station. She grabbed a bunch of water, and then the last one, she crumpled up the cup, and there was a garbage can, but she wasn't even paying attention, but she just kind of threw it off to the side, and she noticed out of the corner of her eye that it went dead center right in the garbage can. And she said, oh, maybe I'm going to have a good day today or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she ended up winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the book, he kind of chronicles, obviously 80-20, but then there's the athlete Sarah Lindley who really increased her training, took it to a level that she thought was ridiculous, and that pushed her over the top. And then you juxtapose that with the
Yeah.
story of Paula Newby Fraser, who was rattling off world champion Ironman results for years, and then but but she wanted to take it to another level because she felt like no one really, I don't know, it was weird. Like she just didn't feel like she was getting the appreciation. It was like a foregone conclusion she was going to win. And so she
Right.
wanted to set a new time to really make a statement. And so she started overtraining. She started training with the men and bumped up her cycling and her all these metrics. And then she ended up having a collapse during
Right.
Ironman. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't think there's one clear cut method to it. We're all
No,
trying
but
to figure it out.
on a related note, and this is again, maybe this is my personal therapy session, but I started getting into the comeback quotient, which is his second book. What he
Yeah,
talks about a lot is any stories about you reset your goal. Okay, so
right.
if I'm not getting up over the call your speed bump at a certain time, does that mean you give up? No, you reset the goal. Like you didn't make it over, but don't give up. Now the thing is, okay, chase back on or reset your goal. No, I'm not going to win, but I certainly can do, get fourth or get third. And there were a couple of stories in there where the people just said, okay, now they resigned themselves to fourth, but ended up getting, winning anyways, because again, I think some of that pressure came off and they
Right.
just reset their goal and then they just did what came naturally. So,
Yeah.
but it is, but the thing is, and we were talking about this a little bit, Mike, it's a difficult thing, right? We compare ourselves not to our age category, but to the people we're riding with. And then that may very well be, you know, unrealistic. Another story was I was on a group ride, and this one guy just shredded the group, just shredded it, right? And a week later, I'm waiting for a ride to come by, and this guy's there, and he turns to me and he goes, "You're you're Dave Dalton, right?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so."
Hmm.
And I go, "Oh, nice to meet you." He goes, "Yeah, I played football with your son in high school." So
Yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
guy's the guy's half my age. The guy's
Yeah.
half my age, and I'm saying that should be my standard when it should be, you know. But in group rides, you don't have age categories, right? So,
I don't think
uh,
anybody as you get older as a cyclist, I don't I don't know. I mean, I never consider age. Like I guess when you sign up, like I've been doing these cross races and they have
yeah,
like a 45 plus open and then they have a 35 plus Bs and I just go in the 35 plus Bs because I feel
yeah,
like the 45 plus, I don't know, it's just a different, I don't know.
yeah.
There's also B men. I was thinking about maybe I just do B men next time. I don't know. That's but yeah, when you're racing, you're never looking around like taking inventory or like, oh, that guy's younger than me, that guy's younger than me. That's not the thought. It's like you're just trying to
No,
do as best you can, and win,
I
right?
know, but
Right.
but we do have to come to grips with our mortality, right? And it's,
Yes.
we are getting older, and at 63, am I capable of actually doing what some guy that is a hardcore cyclist at the age of 30 is? Am I capable of doing what he's doing?
We just got
I
to
don't
get
know.
you in that on that some of that juice, get some of that
Yeah.
testosterone going.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uh,
Do you know anyone?
I
So
don't know. I just always hear about it. I've never considered it myself, but
yeah.
it would be interesting to check, to kind of look. I don't know. It'd just be interesting to find out about it. Did you ever see that? What was it called? The Doper Next Door? The
Hmm.
guy who did a
Yeah.
year of doping. He was a
Yeah.
writer and he did a year of doping and like started smashing everybody at the local races. And then
Yeah.
he had a hard time quitting because he was having so much fun being the alpha, you know.
Yeah.
But
I,
yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't like the idea of that.
I couldn't take any, that'd be, I couldn't take any satisfaction in that. I just
Right.
don't, I don't see it.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I agree.
And that's why when we had uh got Phil Guyman on, you
Yeah.
know, I think that's an incredible story. I think he took a lot of shit for going out and smashing people's KOMs, and they were kind of like, "Why are you doing this? You're a former pro." And then
Yeah.
when you found out why he started doing it, he was taking the KOMs from a doper, a
Right.
known doper, and he just said, "Fuck you, I'm gonna go," and he started doing it. And I'm like, "Yeah, way to go, Phil."
Yeah. Well, and I think his stance on it may have cost him his career. You
Oh,
know,
he said that in
an
there. Yeah,
early, yeah,
he,
an early, yeah. I mean, a lot of times, when an athlete might come up with something like that, but you could see in the sport of cycling at the time, and him taking this hardcore position on it,
yeah.
teams would just be like, let's get somebody
Well,
else.
well, did you? I know, and that's what he said. He said the teams
Yeah,
wouldn't, because I was so outspoken. Teams wouldn't even talk to me, right?
right. Yep.
And did you take my advice and go watch Enter the Slipstream?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the Canada one.
Vaughters.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And Vaughters basically said the same thing. He was doping, if
Right.
I understood it correctly, and he just said, "What am I doing? Right? What, you know? How
Yep.
can I?" He just couldn't reconcile in his head, and that's when he went and decided to go clean and built a team around clean racing. So
Yeah. Is that on Prime? I forget where. Enter the Slipstream. It follows the
I,
EF team, and
yeah, I thought it was
yeah,
GCN.
yeah,
GCN.
you should be able to find it easy enough if you haven't seen it already. But it did help me kind of understand Vaughters a little bit better. But you know, what
Yeah,
he's
you're not a fan.
what he's done is it's amazing, and and it's an American team on the world stage, and it's really his baby. And he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and you get a sense of the pressure. I just think that guy, man, he's stressed out. He's a high stress kind of guy, and
Yeah.
I think he'd be high stress no matter what he was doing. I just think that's kind of how he's wired. But
Right.
and that whole story with Rigo, and I really felt for him, because it did seem like it was kind of like a wing and a prayer kind of thing. And Rigo's putting all his eggs in the Vaughters basket, and that's a ton of pressure. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, you definitely get a lot. I got a lot more insight than the Tour uh Netflix special that we watched, where he just came off being
Oh yeah, yeah,
negative,
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, you get
yeah.
the context of where he's coming from and how tough it really is. And it's a shame, really, when you think about it, that it's is that tough to have a team. Like, they got a great team, and capable of you know great results, but then nobody in America cares. Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't go to Europe and get sponsors there.
Longest running American longest running American team. While they've changed sponsors, it's the organization is the longest one ever,
Yeah.
right? And which
Yep.
is impressive. But you're right. Where are the other ones?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hey, speaking of teams, I'm switching gears.
Yeah.
Did Anna Hicks switch teams?
Yeah.
I think she,
It's
yeah,
unclear though, the way, because she posted it and she was in her Siniska kit.
they all they all do that. It's the
Right.
funniest thing. Like, and I think I understand marketing, but like they'll have they'll have some guy like welcome to Yamo Visma, and he's in his like his AD2, he's in some other kit. It's like, well, just get him a kit and say welcome, right? Don't show the other name, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, she was, when they said welcome, she was still in her old kit. But
Yeah, I'm not clear on that even right now. I'm like
I
looking
think
it
she
up.
switched.
She did. I
I think she,
think, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
she's so cool.
she
Yeah,
is.
anyone wants to listen, go back and listen to the Anna Hicks. Speaking of inspiration, if you haven't listened to it, folks, go back and listen. Started riding a bike in 2020.
Yeah.
and be pro in 2023.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah.
haunch for sure. All right.
Hey, so
Yeah.
wait, something else I want to talk to you about because you've got me inspired here. So
Okay. Good.
I've been seeing it a lot, um, popping up, and maybe I was asleep at the wheel, but I've been seeing it a lot in my Strava feed. This people like so and so set a goal to the junction, or so and so has set a goal for this, and I hadn't been doing it. Now you said you've got a goal for your climbing, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So on Strava, you go into your profile, and then there's a on the top menu, there's and on the mobile app anyway, on the top menu, there's a thing called progress. You click on progress, and then you go down, you can see a thing that says goals, and then you can just type in your goal. So if you have a goal for mileage for the year or elevation gain, that's the proper one, by the way. And then, or
Oh,
whatever it may be, you can set that goal in there, and then Strava actually keeps track of it. So,
and it's a week. You got to do it by weekly because I'm on track right now, and I was at, for some people out there, not a big deal, but for me, I'm pretty stoked and pretty committed because I used to do between 7 and 8 thousand miles a year, and once I had the shop and then COVID and all this, I was like 5,200, 53, whatever. Then I think I broke 6,000 last year, and I'm on track right now to do 7,500, and I'm pretty stoked about it actually. But I'm like you. I'm sitting here. I'm doing the math every time I do a
right.
week. I go, okay, divide that by the number of weeks that we have left. I've got to do X amount. So I think I'm just going to pop in a weekly goal.
You could do
And
weekly, or you could do an annual goal. Mine's an annual number, but who
you
cares
can
about
set it. You can
mileage?
change it.
Who cares about mileage?
Yeah.
You got to talk about
Everyone
vert.
except you.
Let's talk about
Everyone
vert.
except you.
How much vert do you have this year, Dave?
Oh man, that's lame. That's lame. You're
That's
hitting me below. You're
that's
hitting me
where the
below the
real
belt.
work
But
is. The work is in the vert.
all right,
You could work on the flats too, for
Aver-
sure.
yeah. Where am I? So I'm at 5,800 miles, 50, almost 5,900 miles, but only 350,000 feet of vert.
Oh, Dave. Oh.
So I'm like 1/5 of what you're going to come in at. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm mentally ill, as we've covered in the past.
Yeah, yeah. You we
Yeah.
thought I need therapists because I'm putting too much pressure on it. You have an unhealthy relationship with vert.
Yes. Yeah, no doubt.
No, but
Yeah.
but 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 you just it's I mean, why were we successful in the 615 days when that was we had a training plan because you had it written down. You were supposed to do X number of hours this week, or you were X, and
Hmm.
if I
Yeah.
if I wrote it down, it's different.
Yeah, Strava can
It's
help you
different.
with that. Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
accountability. I do see, like,
Yeah.
so and so hit their goal for this week of whatever. I do the monthly, I do the monthly.
Your cat is your cat back in the garage? Is that
Hang
what you're
on.
looking?
Oh, I'm not. Okay. All right. Yeah, excuse the slight interruption there.
Mike had to pee. Mike had to pee.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, but I didn't. Yeah. But anyway, we're talking about goals, and
Yeah, I don't think it's unrelated to I don't think it's unrelated necessarily to the how bad do you want it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if hope is not a solution, right? So the only thing is if you really want to get to a certain point, then you got to do something about it. Certainly you can dig deep and all that, but at the end of the day, if I want to get better on this ride that I got dropped on, then I know that I got to, in addition to having that mental toughness and not give up, you've just got to set certain goals. And I know that the answer for me would probably be to just go out and do it once a week, do intervals, right?
yeah,
But or by the same token, rather than a wing and a prayer, type in Now, in order to get to 7,500 miles, I need 140 miles a week for the rest of the year. Type that in, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean, I rode yesterday as knackered as I was from my 2 day car ride back from Colorado. I went in and I went simply because that would put me at a certain miles for the week and keep me on track, you know,
Yeah.
and and maybe vert is I've been ignoring it, but I do. Climbing is, I don't feel like I climb as well as I did. Well, it ain't gonna happen if I just hope it or wish it, right? You got to get
Right.
out and do it.
Yeah. And I kind of
So
relate to this, the Siri Lindley story where she was overtrained, because I definitely feel like I'm overtrained, you know, but then, but at the same time, I'm fast,
yeah,
comparatively speaking, right? And then I go and I do something out of pocket where I'll go do the rodeo cross where it's like an hour of intensity, which is not how I'm training at all. And my body's cooked, and then somehow it all works out. You're able to find it, even though like I don't
yeah,
spend a lot of time in that intensity zone. So even like I really related to that Siri Lindy story because of the feeling that she had at that triathlon of just being like, why am I even here? That's how I felt at rodeo cross. It's like, what am I doing?
hmm,
This is like a sprint for an hour. I don't
yeah,
do this, you know? And then you go out and it all comes together. And I think a lot of it is just because you're putting in the work. I think,
yeah,
obviously, I mean, if you want to get stronger at climbing, you need to climb, you need to climb more. But
yeah,
there is also a point of where you're climbing so much that you're not really like I look at on the climb that I do all the time, I have Strava keeps track of everything. So there is my personal best. And I don't
mm,
know, like I know right now I couldn't do that time right now. But
yeah,
if I took maybe a week and a half off or like tapered for a week and then maybe took 4 or 5 days off and then made a run at it, maybe, but that's not what I want to do. That's the other thing I keep getting back to. Is like sometimes like I talk to people and it's like, oh man, you do these crazy rides. Why do you do that? I do it because I love it. That's what
yeah.
I
Well,
that's what I love. And it's not like I'm training for some race. I don't need a race. I don't, that's not the thing. I just, you know, that same, I think it's Siri Lindley had the honor, she had the tattoos. One was gratitude and one was believe on her wrists, you know. And I do feel that way. Like I definitely feel very lucky to be able to go out and do that I have my life set up. I've got an understanding spouse, and I got these Saturdays where I can just go.
she's still in the room, isn't she? She's
No,
still in the room, isn't she?
yeah, maybe she'll hear this. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah, I got it worked out so I can go do these ultra weird efforts. But I don't know, man. It's just a weird thing where I just feel thankful that I can
yeah,
go do these efforts, and the level of peace that I have during and then also, but after. I'm just I'm in a better mindset and just
yeah.
able to just cope with a lot of different things in a much healthier way than when I'm not. I don't know. Yeah. So
Well, it's interesting that you say that what you just said, that's what you like to do, and that's part of what I'm grappling with is like, am I rationalizing it or not? But like, as much as I take great pride in being able to finish that fast ride that I talk about on
yeah.
Saturdays, the House of Pain,
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of pleasure, like getting out and riding with the Dutch Diesel group or something like that. When I'm actually taking a lot of pleasure in getting more miles and being out with a group of people that, it's a good, strong group, but we ride 75 miles as opposed to like 40. And I'm kind of enjoying that because, and part of it is my newfound freedom, right? Not working on Saturday. So I have Saturday and Sunday both to ride.
Yeah.
So it's something that's been missing, but to get out and be able to, and so I'm trying to find that balance, where do I really want to be right now? Do I want to be ready to go do 100-mile gravel event, or do I want to be ready, super fast for the 40-mile road race or 50-mile road race? So it's kind of where I'm grappling with right now. I don't know.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Just to be, yeah.
And
even if
and
you're
I want
not
to
training for that specifically, right? Kind of like we were talking about, it's like if you just put the work in, no matter what the event, you should be able to just show up and
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
also like don't put the pressure on the result, put the
yeah,
pressure on your performance. It's like, how did I ride? Did I do everything I could? Did I, stay mentally tough the entire time, or did I check out when things got hard? Just
yeah.
focus on how you're doing, instead of how you finish. And if you're standing on a box at the end of it, who cares about that?
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I'll just throw it out there, right? This is, confessions of among friends. Like, it's like our dirty summit. I get very frustrated when, you're so far ahead of me every time. And sometimes I do mentally check out, right? I'm so impressed with your climbing. Please don't get me wrong, but it's like to go out with you and Flavia or you and Claire, and I'm sitting there in the red, and then I come up over a hill, and you guys are sitting there waiting for me. Like, I'm like, fuck. And
Yeah,
I just got to let it go. I just got to go let it go and say, hey, I'm out riding with my friends, and
yeah,
I'm doing something that most people can't do.
right.
But I just, I can't. You're right. I need therapy.
And
That's it.
well, and I think that, also just how are you doing? You're right. Not how do I compare? It's like how am I doing? How's my technique? How's my
Yeah.
form? Am I in my
Yeah.
heart rate, my effort? I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky. We haven't done the
Yeah.
Dirty Summit in a very long time.
I know. Well,
In a
now
very
that I'm
long time.
unemployed, I got my Mondays are wide open now that I'm unemployed.
Yeah. Well, my Mondays are crazy busy. Yeah. But
Yeah.
maybe we can get at least get one in here
We'll figure
before
it.
the weather turns.
Yeah.
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 But
So on that Kraken, I know you got to pee, but I got one more question for you, because this is
okay.
um so the vast majority of that 3,500 feet of climbing
Hmm.
that I'm doing has come from things like the Dirty Summit or our gravel rides. Where in 25 miles we did one the other day. It was 32 miles. We were over 4,000 feet of climbing, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of vert in pretty short periods of time. And what that means is you're doing 20, 15%, 16% grades.
Hmm.
And I spent so much time doing that. Like, I'll be going up a 16% grade. And I'm not saying it's easy, but no problem. And then I go out and I do Mount Diablo,
Hmm.
and I, the junction, like, it's so fucking hard. And I
Yeah.
and I don't I think I've trained my body. I don't is that possible? I've trained my body for these slower cadence, steeper things, as opposed to when I'm on Diablo at an 8% grade and I'm doing a higher cadence. Like, my legs and my heart are giving out
It's
more so
just,
than they are on these.
yeah, it's just different. In gravel,
Yeah,
you have so many obstacles that limit what you can physically do, right? Especially on the
yeah,
steep climbs. You can't get out of the saddle. So
yeah,
you have to just hunker down, and you have to figure out a way to try to keep the speed but seated. And whereas on the road bike,
yeah,
it's just it's the tempo is different, the cadence, your ability to put yourself. I mean, you could definitely do it on a gravel. I'm thinking about it, but on the road, the limiter is you. You're
yeah,
limiting yourself, right? On the gravel, the limiter is the gravel, because
yeah,
you just can't default to jumping out of the saddle and just start hammering, which is what you do on the road bike when, whatever, your lower back starts to hurt or something. You just want to change your body position. You can easily change your body position and just go in. You're able to, between keeping that high tempo spin seated and then out of the saddle. And then even when you go back into the saddle, it's more, but when the gravel, you just got to sit and just grind away. It's a
Yeah, but
different thing.
it's funny that you say that. I'm finding that I'm doing that. It's like I've conditioned my body. So I'm doing all of Mount Diablo, and never once do I get out of the saddle because
Oh,
I'm used to not doing it. So I go around one of those steep hairpins where the grade pitches up, and all I'm doing is just powering through, as opposed to
uh,
standing up, getting around the corner, and sitting down. So I can't believe I'm going to say this because I love my gravel bike so much, but I think I'm actually going to dial it back a little bit and spend a little bit more to get back to my once a once a week just to the junction, because
mhm.
the only climbing I do is off road. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah.
don't know. Maybe I'm just more fucked up than I thought, but I don't know.
No, we're all fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
All right.
interesting. It's weird how like climbing styles, like, because of all the climbing I'm doing, and specifically on this one road where I'm continually doing the same thing over and over again. And I find that I stand, like my default is standing.
Yeah, I
And
watch you. I know for
and then
sure.
when I sit down though, a lot of times I can sit and produce more power than when I'm standing. Like I'll be standing and like my power meter's a little off, but it'll be like in the 250 to 260 range. But then when I sit, if I just keep that same effort, I can easily pump at 10 to 20 watts. But
Yeah.
I can't stay seated comfortably for some reason. Like I tell myself that sometimes like I'll do these laps and it's only a 1.5 mile lap. And I'll tell myself I'm going to stay seated this entire lap. And I can't do it. I'm sure I physically could do it, but I just don't end up doing it. I can't stay focused that much. And I just end up defaulting to getting out of the saddle and just smashing.
Yeah,
So
I think what you need there, Mike, is you need to be like me, be more dialed into your body, and I think you need to do more stretching, like I do every morning and every night. I think you need to cut back on the alcohol. Listen, I'll get
am
you
I
on all
stretching right
different
now?
fitness.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's call it a day, and I'm gonna go try to bend and see if I can touch my toes, see if I've
Yeah.
made any progress.
You touch your toes and I'll drink a beer. How's that?
There we
No,
go.
no,
The bet is
forget it.
on. The bet is
Forget
on.
it. Yeah, I don't want to drink a beer. So,
All right.
all right, good stuff. All right, thanks, Dave. Thanks for listening,
Yeah.
everybody.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, let's cover
Yeah.
this.
Hey, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah. First of all, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm going to keep posting little sound bites, but you guys got to check out this book. This Matt Fitzgerald, I think, Mike, you just said it. And I actually emailed him afterwards.
mhm.
And there's a lot of coaches out there that are, and any one of my friends that are a coach, I apologize in advance, but there are a lot of them focus on being cyclists, and some of them dabble in the stretching and the nutrition, right?
Yep,
But none of them talk about that I'm aware of talk about the mind. And so
yeah,
I think that holistic approach that Matt Fitzgerald takes is so important. And so guys, go out and get his books. And I think you nailed it. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever talked to. So
yeah,
go listen.
yeah.
And
That
then
brain
my last,
endurance training. That brain endurance training. That's like a new concept, and I think that
yeah,
he's really tapped into something there. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And then the other thing, guys, listeners, if uh, give us feedback, tell us how we're doing.
Yeah.
We so love doing this, so just let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, we're trying to
So
bring as a real diverse offering of guests to the podcast, and um, hopefully that's working for everybody out there. I know for Dave and I, it keeps it
yeah,
really interesting for us. But if there's something specific that you'd like to see, we have a Gmail account, Cycle Jerks Podcast 2023 at Gmail. You can hit us up there. You can also just DM us in Instagram if you see a post that you like or something you don't like or whatever. You could just feel free to interact with us. We really want to try to make this thing the best that we can. And if you're you're interested
Cracking up.
in in supporting the podcast, you can go to cyclejerkspodcast.buzzsprout.com and hit the subscribe button. And we just appreciate all of you listening, and we'll see you next week with another great guest.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Mike,
Thanks,
I got to go kiss my wife goodbye. I'll talk to you later.
okay. Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.